Welcome back to another explainer. Right, today we are diving headfirst into a really crucial, actually kind of action-packed chapter of your GCSE AQA history syllabus. We're looking at Restoration England, specifically the years 1660 to 1685. Think of this as your ultimate survival guide. We're going to unpack all these massive historical shifts together, so when you walk into that exam room, you're going to feel completely confident. Okay, so here's our quest log for today, and it maps perfectly to the 3 syllabus bullet points you absolutely need to master. We've got 1, expanding land, 2, controlling trade, and 3, waging war. Let's jump right in. Expanding land. Level 1, expanding the map. Okay, let's dive into this. During King Charles II's reign, England wasn't just sitting still. No, they were actively expanding their footprint, claiming entirely new global territories. We're talking about places like Bombay, Hudson Bay, Tangier, and Jamaica. Now, quick tip for you. Memorizing this specific inventory list of locations is just a fantastic way to nail down your AO1 evidence for the exam. It proves to the examiner that you know exactly where England was planting its flag. But, the king couldn't possibly manage all this far-flung land by himself. I mean, the logistics alone would be a nightmare, right? So, this is exactly where organizations like the East India Company come in. And you really need to understand, they weren't just your standard run-of-the-mill trading business. They were actually granted these massive, leveled-up state-like powers. This gave them the ultimate authority to govern, manage, and even aggressively expand these new territories right on behalf of the crown. And this massive expansion, well, it was very often driven by some incredibly bold, honestly pretty ruthless individuals. Take Captain Henry Morgan, for example. He was a notorious privateer closely linked to Jamaica. He is absolutely a crucial historical figure you want to drop into your answers. Why? Because he perfectly illustrates how single individuals projected English power all across the Caribbean to secure, and of course profit from, that newly claimed land. Definitely keep his name in your back pocket for exam day. Moving on to controlling trade. Level 2, hoarding resources. So to really understand how England built up all this massive wealth, we absolutely have to talk about mercantilism. Think of this economic theory as the ultimate crafting recipe for England's economy at the time. The core idea here is that there's a totally fixed amount of wealth in the world, like a giant pie. And to get a bigger slice, a country needs to accumulate profitable balances. Basically, you make sure the wealth flows into your borders and you actively prevent it from flowing out to your rivals. To actually enforce this theory in the real world, the government introduced the Navigation Acts. Think of this as a very strict step-by-step procedure. First, they restricted colonial trade strictly to English ships. End of story. By legally locking out all their international rivals, they maximized the positive impact on their own economy. It essentially guaranteed that all the valuable loot coming from their growing empire stayed entirely locked within the English system. Now, as we look at these vast, rapidly expanding trade networks, we really must address a critical and incredibly dark part of the AQA specification: the emergence and brutal impact of the slave trade. As the English colonies expanded across the Americas and the Caribbean, the demand for agricultural labor completely surged. And as a result, England actively participated in the forced transportation and enslavement of human beings. For your exam, it is absolutely essential to understand that this horrific trade was, undeniably, a foundational driver of Restoration England's overall economic wealth. Finally, waging war. Level 3, PvP combat. All right, so between 1660 and 1685, English sea power expanded incredibly fast, and this led directly into the Second and Third Dutch Wars. Now, what you really want to remember here is the massive focus on new naval tactics and new technology. I mean, ships were evolving, and fleets actually began fighting in these highly organized lines of battle. It was a huge, unprecedented investment in sea power, all designed to protect those precious trade interests we just talked about. Now, what's really interesting here is comparing how England actually handled its different rivals. Because the Dutch were direct, head-to-head competitors in global trade, England's response was pretty straightforward: aggressive, outright naval wars. But on the flip side, with major powers like Spain and France, relations were so much more complex. It involved all this intricate diplomatic maneuvering, really just trying to navigate a super delicate balance of power across Europe. So what does this all mean? Well, this brings us to a final, absolutely crucial, final boss sort of question for your exams. How exactly did land, trade, and war all connect during the Restoration? Well, it's basically a giant cycle. The land provided the initial resources, right? Then, trade policies like mercantilism turned those resources into wealth. And then, you guessed it, That wealth funded the massive wars needed to protect the trade, which in turn allowed them to grab even more land. It all feeds into itself. So if you just keep this connected system in mind, you are going to be perfectly prepared to synthesize those high-level essay answers. You've got this.